Hi, folks, with Tacitus Today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the way the media has completely differently handled the deaths of two politicians. Now, they've died, I think, a day apart or even on the same day, and they're both in the same age, sort of late 60s. But the white politician has been is not a good person. There's no concession that they were good people or did anything good or anything worthwhile. They've instead been demonized in every way imaginable, whether it be by inference or outright accusation or assertion. Now, yet that white politician led a blameless life. They've committed no crime. The most serious crime ever leveled against them, of which they were completely exonerated in a court of law, was that they had engaged in unwanted sexual advances to one of their staffers. That was the height of it. So now the black politician, by contrast, was declared guilty in a court for bombings, terrorist acts, murder, maiming people, intimidation, bribery, you name it. There's not much, rape. There's not much this person hasn't either been accused of or hasn't been found guilty of. They are nonetheless treated by the Western globalist controlled media as an absolute darling. They're supposed to be the epitome of greatness and goodness. Now they lived as an exile pretty much from their early 20s onwards, when they were radical communist Marxist activists, and they flitted around. Now, I mean, this is a person who's got almost no education, by the way, or very little, and yet somehow they were able to front up in a Western country and then be given a doctorate. For one of the universities. Supposedly they overcame their lack of literacy to actually get actually it was a master's, not a PhD, a master's. They were also fated as being some sort of economic genius. They were given international finance genius of the year by I mean, talk about affirmative action on steroids. And yet they presided over a time when the nation they were involved with went from being very prosperous to very poor, going from low levels of unemployment to stratospheric levels of unemployment, to low levels of inflation to, again, stratospheric levels of inflation. In fact, this country that was a very rich country, during the much of the tenure of this person anyway, was turned into an absolute basket case, and yet they're fated as being brilliant in their field. Now, in their obituary, not one mention of their terrorist acts, the bombings, the killings, the maimings, not a mention of it. Doesn't appear anywhere. The corruption, the absolutely mind-boggling levels of corruption they've been involved in, again, the rapes and the patronage and the cronyism, all that, none of that even gets mentioned. Instead, they're just presented as this jewel, this diamond, this polished diamond of accomplishment and rectitude and so on, when in fact it was nothing like that. And things were mentioned, the sort of the diet that they had. It was a simple diet, and they dressed simply and this sort of thing. Well, there you go. Well, they must be good. When in fact their involvement is by any analysis been and the work they did, their behaviour has been a murderous catastrophe from beginning to end. Nonetheless, that's all airbrushed out. So there's not even an attempt at honesty. They're being presented as being quite brilliant and beyond and above any form of suspicion. The white guy, by contrast, again, who's committed no crime ever, the only crime that he's ever been accused of was unwanted sexual advances, which which ended up being dragged into court, and he won. He won that case and won it handsomely, by the way. It wasn't that the presentation of him, though, is that that he was, a white nationalist, a white supremacist, a closet Nazi, a rapist, an evil fascist Nazi rapist. He only got away with it on some obscure technicality of the law that let a guilty man walk free. The damn white supremacist misogynist, and so he's not given any benefit of the doubt, none. The harshest interpretation of everything he did is applied. There's not a benign sort of or a generous interpretation or treatment of him. So he's treated as the epitome of evil in many ways. And again, this idea that if a white man is declared innocent, it's because of some obscure technicality, whereas if a black man's convicted with unimpeachable evidence, it's because it was white man's justice, white man's law. Evil Nazis found him guilty, so you can't take any notice of that. That's the level of difference that these people are treated, and you can see this sort of really with. If Trump is declared innocent on anything, then it's a technicality. Technicality. It's only because Nazis, that sort of stuff. But if he's found guilty rather than innocent, he's found guilty. Well, truth. There you go. The Nazi got his comeuppance, and it was about time too. And no matter how flaky or flimsy or bullshit the evidence and the contrived nature of the case may be, then. So this is again this ideological law that we're watching, an ideological sort of presentation, because this guy, the black guy, he's black, then he's considered as virtuous in the extreme. The white guy, who actually was virtuous, is then considered evil in the extreme, and that's the sort of presentation of reality that we're getting today. But you'd think, looking at this black guy's obituary, that, oh, what a wonderful guy. Gee, well, he sounds like a really nice guy. Oh, wow, how accomplished. Oh, but every negative thing has been airbrushed out. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.